So in our previous topic, we have studied about the electromagnetic radiations and they move in small packets, that is known as quantum. And quanta is singular, quantum is plural. And if someone asks you what is photon, so light travel in small packets and these packets are known as photons. So we use light for the photoelectric effect to produce electricity by using the photons. That is why this is known as photoelectric effect. All right. And light, the main source of light is sun. Okay. In 1887, Hertz performed a very interesting experiment in which electrons were ejected when certain metals, for example, potassium, rubidium, cesium, etc., were exposed to a beam of light as shown in figure. Okay, these metals have a maximum number of inner shells, or you can say these inner shells produce the shielding effect to the outermost electron. That is why the outermost electron experiences a less electrostatic force from the nucleus. That is why whenever we supply some energy to that electron gain energy and leave the surface of the metal. So when we impart a beam of light on the metal plate, the electron absorb that energy and move to the higher energy level and to the detector. And that detector will collect the electron to the battery. And this is a vacuum chamber so that the deflection of electron will not take place. Why this is vacuum? Because if there is any air, so this electron can deflect because this is a particle and particle experience friction with the air, right? When we move fast on bicycle or scooter or scooties, we experience a force from the air because we have particle nature, air to have particle nature, and when it strike with our body we experience some force. If this thing happen inside this chamber, so what happened? The electron will not move to the detector properly. Some of the electron may lose, I think they will go anywhere, they will strike to the chamber's wall. Okay, so that will lead to the loss in energy. So at that time your maybe your experiment will not be effective or your results may not be effective. So that is why this is a vacuum chamber. Okay, the results observation in the experiment were the electrons were ejected from the metal surface as soon as the beam of the light strikes the surface. That is, there is no time limit lag between the striking of light beam and ejection of electron from the metal surface. As soon as you keep the beam of light on the metal surface, simultaneously within a lap of time that electron after absorbing energy will just leave the surface of that matter. Okay, it's like, for example, the small kids used to play a game by with the help of a ball and some stones. Okay, and if I or that child just apply some force and hit that stone very speedily, so as soon as the ball hit that stone, the stone will move in the forward direction. Okay, so same with this, as soon as the beam strike, the electron absorb the energy and it eject from the metal surface. The number of electron ejected is proportional to the intensity of brightness of the light. Okay, and that which depend on which factor the ejection of electron depend? The intensity of light, or you can say the brightness of light. More is the intensity of light, ejection of electrons is more. If intensity of light is less, then ejection of electron is also less. So you can say ejection of electron is directly proportional to the intensity of brightness of light. All right, in a sharp shiny day, the photoelectric effect, or you can say the your battery become more charged as compared to the normal hazy day. Why? Because at that time the sunlight directly impart on that surface your photoelectric area, and because of that maximum number of electrons will leave the surface and you can collect them into the battery. So for each metal, there is a characteristics minimum frequency V naught, also known as the threshold frequency. There is a specific limit. The frequency, you can say, the minimum energy which is required to remove, or you can say to eject an electron from the metal surface, that is known as the threshold frequency. I'm repeating this thing. The minimum energy which is required to remove the electron from the metal surface, that is known as the threshold frequency, and which is denoted by V naught, below which photoelectric is not observed. If frequency is below the threshold frequency, at that time you will not be able to eject a single electron from that metal plate. So at a frequency, when V frequency is more than the threshold frequency, the ejected electron came out with certain kinetic energy. But if what happened, if you increase the frequency more than that of the threshold frequency is the minimum energy which is required actually. But if you increase the frequency, what happened? The electrons will move with a certain kinetic energy. You increase the force, the object will move more faster after striking. Same thing here. If frequency increase, the ejection of electron will increase and the kinetic energy is also increased. Okay, this thing clear to you all?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Next, evidences of quantized electron energy level. How you can quantize the energy level of the electron. So we know this thing that when light disperses, it disperses into seven colors, seven bright colors you can say. We have some intermixed colors also, which actually actually can seen only when you go deeper to the rainbow, or you can say to the screen, then you will see the dispersed color, but seven bright colors are there, that is Vibgyor. All right. So the speed of light depend upon the nature of medium through which it passes. As a result, the beam of light is deviated or reflected from its original path as it passes from one medium to another. We know this thing that when light passes through one medium to another, it disperses. Sometimes you will see rarefaction, and sometimes you see dispersion. So this experiment can be performed by taking a glass prism. Why the light dispersed after passing through the glass prism? Why this thing happened? Because glass is not a solid thing. It is a super cool liquid which actually act as a medium. So if someone asks you that glass is a solid thing, it look like a crystalline solid, it appears like it, but it is a super cool liquid. When light pass through the glass, it filter off. It just dispersed out from when it move out of that prism. That is why we'll obtain a Vibgyor on the screen, the dispersed light on which the seven colors of the white light, they just arrange according to their wavelength. Okay, this thing happened in atmosphere also. When you see rainbow after rain, why rainbow appears just after rain? Because when the rain falls down, the water molecules, you can say, some droplets of water remain suspended in the atmosphere. Okay, and when sun appears and sunlight passes through these water droplets, they act as a medium at that time. There is no single droplet present, there are many droplets, millions of droplets, trillions of droplets are there in the atmosphere, which remain suspended for some time at least. That causes moisture. We used to feel moisture in rainy season na, because air contain a large amount of water molecules, water droplets. That is why. So when the light passes through these water droplets, they just disperse, and when multiple dispersion takes place there, that will lead to the formation of the beautiful rainbow. Okay, so this thing we can do with the help of prism. This is the incident ray. When it passes through the glass prism, this is the medium. This is a medium, just like water. So, and when it passes through this medium is when we collect these dispersed radiations, you can say the dispersed light on a screen, they will arrange on the base of their wavelength. Red has red to violet, and with the decreasing wavelength. Okay, the shortest wavelength is the violet color, the large wavelength is this red. And I think in 10th class you have studied that during sunset, you can say when sun disappears, actually we will not able to see the sunlight, but we see the reddish color over the sky during sunset. Why? Because the wavelength of red is comparatively different to the others color of the white light. Okay, next is, as a ray of white light is spread out in a series of color bands called the spectrum, and that the color band which we obtain when the light passes from one medium to another is the spectrum. Okay, the light of red color which has longest wavelength, that is the longest wavelength is red, and they deviate less. That is why uh, the deviation is actually less. We know this thing that when wavelength is large, the deviation is less. In electromagnetic radiation we have studied. Okay, but the deviation is less, so it will go on straight. So that is why we used to see red color during the sunset. Okay, and the violet color has the shortest wavelength. The shortest wavelength is violet color, that shows the maximum deviation. Okay, so the spectrum of white light that we can see range from violet at 7.15 to 10 to the power 14 hertz to red 4 into 10 to the power 14 hertz. So this is the range of your visible light, white light spectrum, that starts from violet to red, and that is 7.50 into 10 to the power 14 hertz to red at 4 into 10 to the power 14 hertz. Such a spectrum is called a continuous spectrum. When you see the spectrum in a continuous manner means there is no gap present there. You now we have a Vibgyor in a continuous manner. But if some color is missing from the between, for example, if a chance is there when we do perform the line spectrum of hydrogen, what happened? One of the color is missing. Maybe possible you will see some certain bands, then blank, then bands, then blank. So at that time that spectrum is discontinuous. But when you see the entire spectrum in a continuous manner, that is known as what? The continuous spectrum. Okay, so continuous because violet merge into indigo and indigo merge into blue and so on. This is the merging of the colors. When you say something that this is continuous means there is no gap between anything, and which is because of the merging. So violet just merge into indigo, and then indigo merge to blue, blue merge to green, green merge to yellow, and yellow merge to orange and red, so on. Okay, that is why this is a continuous spectrum. Now we'll talk about the line spectrum or atomic spectrum. When the electromagnetic radiation interacts with matter, atoms and molecules may absorb energy and reaches to high energy level state. What happened actually? When the electromagnetic radiation, they just interact with any matter, okay, or atom or molecule. What happened? These atoms, molecules or matter absorbs the electromagnetic radiation energy and reaches to higher energy level. When something absorb the energy actually increase. When something release the energy, loses their energy reduces. So electromagnetic radiations, when they strike to the matter, they absorb the energy and moves to the higher energy level. Okay, with higher energy, this are in unstable state. Why the higher energy state is the unstable state? Because when something absorb energy, it loses that energy also. So this energy level is actually called as the temporary level, because after and losing that energy, that matter or atom has to come back to its original ground state after losing it. All right, so that is why the higher energy level is considered to be as the unstable state. For returning to their normal, more stable and lower energy state. So normal state is there more energy state, or you can say the lower state. Energy state, the atoms and molecules emit radiation in various regions of electromagnetic spectrum. So whenever the electromagnetic radiation is absorbed by the atom, and when it start losing it, so there is a difference in the radiation, the spectrum radiation, because the radiation they are absorbing is in continuous manner. But when it losing, maybe some radiation get absorbed in the body, maybe some radiation absorbed in the atom. So what happened when the absorption take place? That causes a discontinuous spectrum. The various region may be missing and may appear in that spectrum. Line spectra are of greater interest in the study of electronic structure. So when we study about the electronic structure, line spectra is the greater interest. Why? Because by counting the line spectra, you will be able to find out the difference between emission and absorption spectrum. That what spectrum the atom absorb and what spectrum they emit out. Okay. Each element has a unique line spectrum. The characteristics lines in atom spectrum can be used in chemical analysis to find out known atom in the same way as the fingerprints are used to identify the people. Each and every person on this earth have different fingerprints. By analyzing the fingerprints, people came to know about the suspects in any crime. Why this thing happened? Because fingerprints are unique. So same wise line spectrum of each and every matter, or you can say each and every atom is unique. By studying the line spectrum, you will be able to find out or identify that which type of atom is this, which atom is this. Okay. The exact matching of the lines of emission spectrum of the atom of a known element with the line form the unknown sample quickly established the identity of the matter. If you just match a random spectrum with a known atom, for example, if I have similar spectrum to hydrogen, if I have a doubt that this is the spectrum of hydrogen atom, and if I match that spectrum with the hydrogen, you will be able to identify. It means someone steal anything of mine, so your fingerprint used to get print on that object actually. So when forensics start matching or analyzing, they just came to know that this person steals the particular thing by comparing the fingerprints. All right, because fingerprints are specific for specific matter or person, you can say. The German chemist Robert Bunsen was one of the first investigator to use line spectrum to identify elements. So he was the first chemist who was successful, or you can say he was the investigator of the line spectrum. So to identify the elements like rubidium, cesium, thallium, indium, gallium, and scandium were discovered on their minerals were analyzed by spectroscopic method. These are the specific matters which he just discovered on from their mineral. We know this thing that metal exists in in the form of ore, the form of minerals. So these elements were identified by using the spectroscopic method. This is the method of studying the spectral lines. So hydrogen is a simple atom. We know this thing that. So if we want to start something, so we start with unity. So unity is hydrogen. So hydrogen was the basic atom which was actually considered to perform the spectrums of different types of atoms. When an electronic discharge is passed through the gaseous hydrogen, the H2 molecules dissociate and the energetically excited hydrogen atom emit the electromagnetic radiation of discrete frequency. We know this thing that what happened when the electrical discharge, you can say the electromagnetic radiation is passed through the hydrogen molecule. So what happened is just absorb that energy and moves to the higher energy level, and when it's come back to the lower energy level, or you can say its ground state, the it emit out the electromagnetic radiation in a discrete frequency, different frequencies. The hydrogen spectrum consists of several series of lines named after their discoveries. So when they observe, when they just take out the hydrogen spectrum, so what happened? There are discrete lines which appears on the screen. Okay, and these lines were named on the basis of their discoveries. Okay, Balmer showed in 1885 on the basis of experimental observation that if spectral lines are expressed in terms of wavelength, then the visible lines of hydrogen spectrum obey the following formula. If Balmer was the scientist who just came into the observations, what happened? He just compared the express line in terms of wavelength. The lines, spectrum lines, which we observe on the screen, if just we express it in the terms of wavelength, that is V. So what happened? They will they will just obey this formula, which is V1 is equal to 10967, and this is in bracket 1 upon 2 square minus 1 upon n square centimeter inverse, where n is an integral equal to greater than 3. That is, n can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right, this the value of n can be 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. It depends on the spectral line. When you, if the value of n, you just put the value of n here. For example, it's 5, and do the calculation. You will get the specific wavelength of that visible line. Okay, like then Johannes Redberg noted that all series of line in hydrogen spectrum could be described by the following formula. So this was the formula. If you are talking about, in that formula they are talking about a one specific line, but if you have different a series of line, and if you want to calculate the value of that, then how you can calculate? You can calculate, just put the same formula is there. In place of 2, there is n1 square and n2 square centimeter inverse. The value of n1 will be 1 2, and n2 will be n1. Value of n1 plus 1, then go on. If you talk about, for example, the value we are talking about first spectral line, this n1 shows the number, the series. N1 is, for example, we are talking about the first spectral line, the 1 will be there. And if you want to calculate the value of that, so n2 will be n1 plus 1. Then next n1 plus 2. Then n1 plus 3. When we go on further, the value of n1 will change. So the value of 109,677 centimeter inverse is called the Rydberg constant for hydrogen. This value, the numerical value present here, is known as the Rydberg constant value because this unit was proposed by him. See the line spectrum of hydrogen. You can say this is the absorption spectrum, and this is arranged on the basis of increasing wavelength. So what happened when the when this hydrogen atom absorbs the energy? What happened when it passes through the prism? The detection of phi will be like this. And when this is the sample atom, for example, this is hydrogen, and when it emit out the absorption spectra, at that time you can see there is a missing of the light. You can say the radiation of different wavelength. So that is the reason there is a difference in the absorption spectrum and emission spectrum of the hydrogen lines. Okay, so there are different types of spectral lines for atomic hydrogen. If N1 is 1 and N2 is 2 and 3, then that is the ultraviolet line, and it is known as Lyman series. When N2, we talk about 2, N1 की value जब 2 है and N2 is 3 and 4, it means it is a visible light, and that is known as Balmer series. If N1 is 3 and N2 is 4 and 5, the infrared radiations, it is a Titan series. Next, a bracket series. When N1 is 4 and N2 is 5 and 6, it is infrared. P1 series, and it is 5, N2 is 6 and 7, it is infrared. So on the basis of these values, N1's value and N2 values, you will be able to identify that which type of spectral line is this. There are 5 types of spectral series which describes about the N1 value and N2 value and the spectral region. That if you see the Lyman series, it means what happened? You are talking about the ultraviolet region at that time, and it's the value for N1 in the ultraviolet region is 1, and the value of 2 is 2 and 3. Okay, see how these series are arranged. This is, you can say, this is a graph between the value of N and energy. If N1 is there, this is N1. So this is the Lyman series, ultraviolet region. If they observe this type of spectral line where the value is N2, this is the Bulmer series. And this is the N3 next series, this is the N4 next series, then N5, this will go so on. So on the basis of these, on the basis, on counting these lines, on taking these line in concentration, you will be able to identify that about which type of series they are talking. All right, so this is a criteria. Ultraviolet series, the value of N1 is actually vast because white light contain a maximum, you can say, maximum amount of ultraviolet rays as compared to others. Okay.